Hello everyone, this is Carbonomics. There are many different carbon credit project developers out there, but this company is different from the rest so far. Klimat X Developments is the first pure-play carbon project developer to go public, where the company's primary focus is on the production of carbon credits, and other products like lumber, agriculture, etc. Are more byproducts. Full disclosure, I do not own shares in the company. Before we dive into the company's business model, if you like the content you see on this channel, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe, as it definitely helps me out. And you guys' support so far has been greatly appreciated. Now, Klimat X is engaged in the acquisition and development of carbon credit and agroforestry rights. The company focuses on developing nature-based projects, so that would be afforestation, reforestation, and mangroves. They're specifically focusing on the nature-based projects because they have the lowest costs on the cost curve. Additionally, they also tend to trade at a premium to the price of some of the other credits. As you can see, reforestation and other nature-based solutions are at the lowest point of the cost curve, while direct air capture is the most expensive. As a developer, they differ from companies I've covered on the channel previously, such as Base Carbon or Carbon Streaming, which are carbon credit royalty companies. And this is a direct developer, meaning they're not providing financing to project developers like those royalty companies I mentioned. They're developing projects themselves. Klimat X is originating and building projects that will sequester carbon out of the atmosphere. In exchange, they will receive carbon offsets that will be sold into the voluntary carbon markets. Compared to a royalty model, this comes with additional risk as Klimat X has to develop the project themselves, which can be quite capital and time intensive. On the other hand, they benefit from increased exposure to the price fluctuations of the underlying commodity as a developer, in this case carbon credits. So if you're looking to buy into a project developer, obviously none of this is financial advice, this is just my opinion. I would focus on trying to buy, when carbon credits are entering a bull market. This is similar to how traditional commodity investors view markets, positioning to take advantage of cyclicality. If you're looking for companies that are, long-term holds to set and forget, then you'll more so want to look into royalties instead, not necessarily developers like Klimat X. A developer of this size with insignificant revenues can easily go bankrupt if they're unable to raise enough funds from public markets. So the key here really is proper timing. As for development timelines of projects, well, it depends on the type of project. You can expect timelines to be more similar to oil and gas in comparison to some of the traditional mining stocks and base metals or others. Developing a traditional underground mine can take upwards of 10 years or more with permitting, processing, all these different features, which can be a similar time frame actually to planting mangroves, which can take a significant amount of time. But other nature-based solutions like reforestation or regenerative agriculture can end up only taking a few years in comparison, 2 to 3 years or so. This is why blue credits, which are created by mangroves, trade at a significant premium to most other credits. It can take a long time to bring one of those projects online, and they're certainly rare by comparison. All these timelines depend on if the assets are already producing carbon credits, or if Klimat X is developing them from the ground up. If they're planting mangroves, then it'll certainly take a longer time to see credits. But if they're existing and these assets are being acquired, then that's a different story, right? Before we discuss the projects Klimat X is developing, I'd like to take some time to discuss the management team. When discussing a development company in a cyclical business like the carbon credit space, the management team is the most important factor in a company's success, in my view. Starting with the CEO, James Tansey, he has a significant experience in the space, advising and developing carbon projects, having founded Nature Bank, which is now known as Ostrom Climate, and being the CEO of Canvas Impact Advisors. James has helped advise over 30 projects now. Ostrom currently aids in the development of forestry and biodiversity projects themselves through advising to some degree. So there's quite a depth of experience here. Although, and I could be wrong about this, but it does not seem like he's personally built any projects himself. Um, but advising on that many is certainly a huge benefit to the company. As far as some of the other executives at the company, Kevin Godlington is the director of operations, who has previous experience at Planting Naturals as a managing director. They're an organic and sustainable palm oil producer, and as the company has 2 projects in Sierra Leone that I'll discuss later, this gives him experience in some of the forestry management there. We also have Neil Passmore, who is the CEO of Hanneman Partners. Many resource investors might already know that firm as well. He's also the co-founder and president of Pomeroon, which is kind of a contributor to Klimat X's project in Guyana, which again I'll discuss later in the video. But this provides the company with some of that agroforestry experience as they have rehabilitated coconut and mixed agriculture for over 5 years in Guyana. And some of the other directors, like Paul Matisek, have experience developing traditional mining projects at scale. Matisek has experience in exploration through eventual acquisition of commodity projects in aggregate over $2 billion in value. As it states here, he was the executive chairman of Lithium X Energy, which was sold for $265 million. So not all the experience in this company is in traditional carbon markets, but you can see how they've formed the executive team and directors in particular fields of expertise, especially surrounding nature-based solutions, which is the company's focus. So that I like to see. Moving on to their projects, they have 3 projects in development and 4 projects in total. 2 of the projects are in Sierra Leone, one for rewilding and the other for mangroves. The other project in development is their project in the Mexican Yucatan for mangrove restoration. The last project is in Guyana for agroforestry. The 3 projects in development are all reaching the feasibility stage or the end of it, and they're all working on drafting their project design documents or PDDs. Those documents describe how the projects will meet the protocol's legal and performance requirements. So those are expected to be done in around Q2 of 2023. The Sierra Leone rewilding project as well, worthy of note, currently has pilot planting underway. Here you can see the economics behind the development of these projects typically. Scoping and feasibility work costs around or under $100,000, with PDDs, validation, and verification costing around $500,000 in total. Now let's go over the project specifications. If you want to see the individual project NPV and IRR calculations, I'll link the company's latest investor presentation in the description. But I'm just going to go over the overview of the entire company's value once I go over some of the details of each of the projects here. So the first of 4 projects is the rewilding project in Sierra Leone, which will initially be 25,000 hectares with an option to develop a further 32,000. Klimat X owns 51% of the project in cooperation with Rewilding Africa and Miro Forestry, and that will be a red project. As for credit type, for the next project, we have another one in Sierra Leone working with mangroves. The size is an initial 8,000 hectares. Klimat owns 100% of the project and is working in partnership with these same partners as the rewilding project. And this will specifically be mangrove restoration and conservation. As for Guyana, which is the third project, Klimat owns 61% of it. Pomeroon Trading, which is Director Neil Passmore's company, is the operator. The project is based on rehabilitating coconut and mixed agriculture. And this is also the most advanced of all their projects, where the first assets are already complete with revenues coming in. And the project has a target of reaching 11,000 hectares in total. The last project is in Mexico. It's another mangrove restoration play with a target of up to 50,000 hectares. The operating team is, and I might butcher this, Compañía Mexicana, along with government support as well. So as you can see here, for many of these projects, Klimat X is partnering with experienced operators in these regions, and some of them serving as executives at the company as well. So this is shaping up pretty nicely. Here you can see the NAV assumptions the company has for its existing projects, seeing IRRs of around 20% with cumulative net cash flows to Klimat X of $737 million. Keep in mind this is cumulative over the life of these projects. The assumption here in the base case is the NAV of $54 million on these projects. Well, that would mean the company currently trades at less than 30% of NAV, as the current market cap is around 15 million, I believe. One thing to note as well, obviously for this value to be realized, the company needs to bring in all these projects out of feasibility into production. Secondly, the company's assumption for carbon offset credit pricing is around $20 on average, which is quite a high number for the short term, as RED Plus credits typically trade around $12 as far as earlier this year, and prices have come down from there since then. So there's certainly large potential here, but we are assuming that there's no issues with continued financing in the future, and that carbon credit prices rise. And I really have trouble seeing carbon credit prices rising to this target of around $20 in the next 1 to 2 years, especially given the energy crisis. But at the same time, I would enjoy being pleasantly surprised, so you never know. As for the company's cash position, keep in mind this is in Canadian dollars. The company currently has $8 million in cash, with $4 million in liabilities related to debt and lease liabilities. For expenses, something to note about cash burn here. The company is spending nearly $1 million on G&A a quarter, $700,000 of that being on consulting and legal fees. This is something I definitely expect to continue to ramp up as they develop their project pipeline, so definitely wouldn't expect expenses to go down by any means. Moving on to the share structure, I'm generally liking what I'm seeing here. The share count's a little high at 87 million, but 35% of that's owned by management and locked up. So that's pretty high insider ownership that we're looking for. We're really looking for owner operators in a company that tend to be aligned with our own interests as shareholders. And how you get that is, large insider ownership there. On another positive note for the company, insiders, including the CEO, have been buying shares over the past month, which is definitely at a premium to where the stock is trading currently. So, like I've said previously, this is not financial advice. But what's my opinion of the company? Well, the development of carbon projects is significantly more capital intensive as a business model than royalties or streaming. One of the issues with diversified developers like this that I see is that they're really going to be spread across a variety of jurisdictions, which is typically what you want in the carbon credit space, but it becomes quite logistically difficult to run these companies. It's definitely a lot easier and less capital intensive to be a royalty model. Like I said earlier in the video, I don't have a position in Klimat X at the time. If I were to buy into the company, it would be based on looking for additional risk and upside. If I felt the voluntary markets were about to take off for some reason, or if nature-based offsets were about to explode. But I don't see either of those scenarios taking place for the time being. So that's pretty much it for me as of right now. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if there's something that you think I missed about the company. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the video here. If you liked it, please remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.